damn pants up and put a fucking belt on. How old do you have to be to keep having your pants hang below your
Hey boy. Hey boy. You look mighty cute in them jeans. Now come on, man. And me up the ass.
The moment Aries Spears said Eddie Murphy's new documentary left out some things he didn't want shown, fans instantly resurrected the one story Eddie spent nearly 3 decades trying to bury. And now, folks online are calling it the secret club footage Eddie hopes never sees the light of day. And trust me, the way this whole thing lines up, you can see exactly why he'd be raging behind closed doors. Because before we even talk about Aries, or Eddie's complicated history with the trans community, or his own child publicly switching pronouns at 18, this all circles back to one early morning incident Eddie can't run from, no matter how many documentaries skip it, or how many lawsuits he filed to shut people up. And the wild part? Aries didn't even have to show a single clip. His words alone reopened a door Eddie slammed shut in 1997, and fans are now connecting dots Eddie clearly hoped would stay disconnected. Now, let me slow this down before we dive off the deep end, because this situation doesn't exist in a vacuum. As you guys probably know, Eddie's new doc is supposed to be this polished celebration of his career. The SNL run, the movie classics, the comeback era. But right when the praise was reaching a peak, Aries decides to point at the one chapter the doc conveniently ignores. And that's exactly where things start boiling. So here's what happened. Aries goes on Vlad TV, right? They're talking about Eddie's documentary, calling it solid, calling it a must-watch. And then Aries casually drops in that there were certain stories they clearly scrubbed because Eddie himself had a hand in the project.
You wasn't gonna hear the tranny story.
Yeah, the tranny story. I was about to say that.
No.
The tranny story was not gonna come out in this documentary.
What was great was...
Soon as that clip hit X, fans went straight to the one scandal Eddie hates talking about. The 4:45 a.m. Santa Monica Boulevard stop with Shalimar Sayuli, a known trans sex worker. And once fans started connecting Aries' comment to that night, everything spiraled. People started stitching tweets, resurfacing old articles, Reddit threads, even CNN archives. Folks began saying the stuff missing from the documentary is the same stuff Eddie allegedly kept locked away, like secret club footage. Now, before we actually unpack that night, let me bridge this properly. The reason Aries' interview blew up is because it touched a nerve that Eddie never healed, something that still gets brought up every time the LGBTQ conversation around him comes back, especially after Eddie's own child publicly transitioned recently. So now the public is asking the same uncomfortable question. If Eddie is so supportive today, then why did he spend years trying to bury one particular incident involving a trans woman? And that brings us to the moment Eddie's PR machine has been trying to erase since the 90s. Let's get into it. Slowly, because this isn't some gossip blurb, this is documented history. May 2nd, 1997. Eddie is 4 years into his marriage. His wife Nicole is out of state. It's 4:45 in the morning. Police in West Hollywood are doing surveillance on Santa Monica Boulevard, a strip known for decades as a hotspot where trans workers work the streets. Multiple sources describe what happened next. Eddie pulls up in his Toyota Land Cruiser. Shalimar Sayuli gets into the passenger seat. They drive off. Now, here's why this matters today. Whenever someone brings this up, whether it's a comedian like Aries implying something was hidden, or a random fan posting old receipts, Eddie gets thrust back into the exact scandal he wants erased from his legacy. So fans see Eddie being supportive there, but still dodging this one moment in his past. That contradiction alone had social media spinning. But before I go to the fan reactions, and trust me, they're explosive, we gotta finish the backstory, because Shalimar's situation didn't end with that arrest. Right after the story hit the press in 97, Eddie tried to put out a fire that had already burnt half the building. He went on CNN through his rep, claiming he was just being a good Samaritan. He said he thought she was a girl and just wanted to help her get home. Fans weren't buying that then, and they certainly aren't buying it now, especially because of one detail Eddie revealed, a detail that people still clown him for today. Eddie said after he got home, he scrubbed his car clean wherever Shalimar touched because he's obsessive-compulsive about cleanliness. That line alone got dragged for years. The situation only escalated when tabloid outlets like National Enquirer paid Shalimar's $15,000 bail in exchange for her version of the night, and the details she claimed Eddie asked her in the car made everything worse. Eddie responded with lawsuits: $5 million suit against Globe, another against National Enquirer, and a $1 million suit against Shalimar's cousin for talking. Now here's where things get dark. Shalimar died less than a year later, falling from her apartment window while trying to climb back in after locking herself out. Some call it a tragic accident, others think it was suspicious. The truth? lost in the chaos. But the story resurfaced again recently, thanks to Aries, and that's where fans started demanding answers Eddie has never given. Now, after revisiting the '97 story, here's where Aries Spears unintentionally poured jet fuel on a fire Eddie spent years burying. Because when Aries said the documentary left out certain stories, fans didn't hear that as some casual comment. They heard it as Eddie hid the real footage. That's what triggered the entire internet spiral, people calling the incident his secret club footage. But the way he talked about the omissions instantly made viewers think Eddie purposely blocked anything tied to his past run-ins with trans women. And the moment fans start talking like that, Eddie loses control of the narrative again. So right when Aries mentioned hidden stories, older fans started tying Eddie's supportive father moment to the incident Eddie refuses to talk about. And that's when comments like this started going viral. Eddie Reagan Murphy needs to come out the closet and tell us what happened to that transgendered Shalimar Sayuli that he got caught with in 1997. So now the convo isn't just about Aries or a documentary. It's Eddie getting pulled back into something he tried silencing with lawsuits, PR statements, and a Good Samaritan narrative that fans have roasted for years. And before we move on, let's talk about the online backlash, because it gets way heavier than the old tabloids ever did. Right after Aries' interview went live, a Reddit thread started recirculating, a thread calling Eddie a textbook filthy chaser. They laid out every detail of the incident. The time, the location, the fact that Eddie's wife and kids were out of state, Shalimar being a known trans worker, and Eddie still claiming he thought she was cis. And right after that breakdown, they added something that set off a whole new wave of arguments online. He also loves to wear sexy lingerie behind closed doors. Again, this is not me claiming it. This is what they said in the viral thread. And Reddit didn't stop there. People brought up Eddie's past homophobic and transphobic jokes, including the delirious special clips that have been floating around for years.
When I throw down, when I do my stand-up, I got rules and straight up. Aren't allowed to look at my while I'm on stage.
Queerty even did a whole article on this back in 2015, asking if the LGBTQ community ever really forgave him. Now here's why this part is important. Viewers don't trust the Good Samaritan story because of Eddie's history of making jokes about the same community he was caught interacting with the night he was pulled over. And when fans feel contradictions, the internet acts like they just smelled blood. But before I jump to the reactions, let me show you the moment that pushed everything over the edge. If you watch Eddie's new documentary, you'll notice it celebrates the highs. SNL, Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America, Stand-Up King era, icon moments. What it doesn't touch is the 1997 stop, the lawsuits, the scrubbed car quote, the transphobic jokes, the death of Shalimar, the lawsuit against her cousin, Eddie's multiple settlements with tabloids. And Aries was the first major comedian to basically say, yeah, that part didn't make the cut, and we all know why. The second he said that, fans started posting things like, can't believe the Eddie Murphy documentary didn't mention him picking up trans. And this is where the secret club footage angle comes back in. People online started suggesting that the doc didn't just skip the Shalimar story. They believe Eddie had full control over the editing and allegedly cut anything that even hinted at his nightlife, club phase, or encounters that weren't family-friendly. So when Aries implied something was kept out, fans started connecting it to rumors that Eddie used to hit certain LA clubs quietly, stopping by late-night spots, underground scenes, and areas frequented by trans women. Back then, Eddie was just trying to bury a scandal. But today, you've got Eddie apologizing for his past jokes, Eddie supporting his trans son, Eddie being older, softer, more family-oriented, Eddie getting celebrated with awards, Eddie reviving old roles, Eddie wanting a clean legacy. So the one thing he refuses to acknowledge, the Santa Monica story becomes the exact thing people poke, which is why a single Aries comment sent everything spiraling again. Now, before we wrap this, there's another layer fans dragged into this conversation. A male escort named Flash once claimed he saw Eddie and Johnny Gill kissing.
And I saw Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill tongue kissing.
Oh.
And this is like out in public.
Johnny denied it completely, and this is last. The reason people resurrected that rumor is because Aries Spears opened the door for people to revisit every old allegation Eddie fought to silence. And once fans feel licensed to dig, they dig nonstop. Look, Eddie Murphy is one of the greatest comedians of all time. But whenever Hollywood tries to polish a legend too clean, the internet is gonna dig right back into the parts they tried to erase. And until Eddie directly addresses this, in his own words, people are gonna keep calling that absence a cover-up, a scrubbed chapter, or secret club footage Eddie hopes no one ever uncovers.